Welcome to week 12 of Ring Talk, the Goodwin Boxing weekly show, talking about all the action. We're going to talk about some signings today, but before we go to anything else, there's a whole stacked weekend that has just passed us by. 7 and a bit hours down at York Hall Saturday, 20 fights on the card. Let's start off with the big one then, the K Prospere taking on the KO King, who he learnt his lesson a little bit in that one. Yeah. K did the job in 90 seconds, was it?
Something like that, wasn't it?
Which included one heavy knockdown, which I was shocked the lad got back up from. Right hand caught him, and then the body shot, which finished him off. Yeah. Impressive night's work for K. Yeah,
I mean, I think he needed that. He had his blowout back when he fought Chris Adaway, and in this fight here, he came to try Patko, but I mean, he did have a puncher's chance because that's really what he had.
That's what he was on paper, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, basically when K hit him, that was it. But K is a big puncher. Yeah. So if he does hit anybody, then, you know, they're going to go. And obviously with Patko, he hasn't got the skill set to defend himself. He had those 4 wins, but he hasn't actually faced anybody like K Prospere. So consequently, when you get in a ring with somebody like K,
the next level up,
and he hasn't got the journeyman mode of defence, so he's going to get caught. Yeah. It was all going to go. So it was always going to be a question of whether Patko would hit K Prospere or whether
who landed first.
And again, would he have had the power to knock out K? But it was an interesting thing. But I thought it sets K well up for 2018, which is something we'll discuss later on in the segment on the show.
Yeah, I think it was an interesting one for while it lasted. K, as you said, fought Chris Adaway on his return. I think chatting with K beforehand, I think that Chris Adaway fight served to tell him that his hand was still working after the broken wrist, was it, in the Raheem Noble fight. And he was a little bit apprehensive beforehand about the hand, but I'm sure that'll give him loads of confidence coming off the back of that you know, he can whack somebody and his hand's still in one piece.
Exactly. Time for him to move on to bigger fights and find out which he's in a really big fight in March. So
we're going to come on to that. We're going to do a new segment on fights made and a new segment on fighters signed.
Yeah, which we'll to cover later. But you know, great performance by K, and it sets him up now for March next year.
Yeah. A number of debuts that happened on the night. There was Hamid Sediqi came out. And
Daz, as he's known. Comes from the Barry O'Connell stable in Hammersmith. Barry's got a brilliant stable there, building. And
this is the State of Mind gym.
State of Mind gym in Hammersmith. And this is the latest new debutant that he's got. There's more coming. But a very solid performance against a lad that has never been stopped or floored before, either as a pro or an amateur. Yeah. I think the lad had something like 20 amateur fights and he's had 3 pro fights, never ever been dropped or stopped. And I think he just gradually worked him over with persistent work rate. I mean, that's what basically, it wasn't a one punch, it was just a culmination of wearing him down and breaking him down. I think that Daz will be an exciting force in the division.
He looked a big lad for the weight as well.
Yeah, but I think he could be really exciting. He's 30 years of age, so we've got to make a move on with him. But I think he can definitely be a force, and I think it will take a good fighter to cope with the work rate. That's for sure.
Yeah, he was certainly charged out, and he didn't relent through the whole of the fight.
No, exactly.
It was impressive. Gharib
put on a good performance. He was a very decent amateur. He's got Daly Perales in his corner. And I think he put on a solid performance against Andy Harris. I think we'll see a lot more from Mo as he develops, but definitely he'd definitely be one to look out for. Yeah. In the lightweight division.
I mean, it looked more. If there were maybe 2 more rounds, I think Mo could have had him out of there potentially. He was getting on top by the end of it.
Definitely.
But some of the movements of Mo as well, showing off a little bit by the end of the fight. I think he was firmly in control, enjoying himself, and making a bit of a show, which is a good way to make a debut. People who saw it will remember it. Yeah. And then move on from that, there was I think Mo was the last person to beat Youssef Khoumari, wasn't he, in the amateurs?
The amateurs, that's right. Youssef is very talented. Again, we'll probably see Youssef again looking very impressive. He had a really good start to his pro career, and I think Youssef is somebody that we can definitely expect to be really hitting for major titles in 2 or 3 years. Yeah. Want to build him properly, and I think he will be a real super talent and go on to great things.
He looks a really exciting prospect.
Yeah.
I like
him. And obviously Mo was that level and beat him as an amateur, so there's no reason the 2 of them can't do fantastic.
Yeah, rise together as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Same stable as Youssef was Tunji.
What a fight.
Wow, I really enjoyed it.
I tell that kid who he thought deserves unbelievable praise.
I was genuinely shocked that lad was still in there at the end. God, he was a hard lad.
But you know, when I saw him after the fight when we were waiting for the buses, he was just smiling away.
Was he? Did he have a good night?
He had a great night. He saw my lamb and he said, "Can I have it as a souvenir?" So I gave him that, and he was just such a nice kid. And he was smiling away, and
you can get back.
Fight, didn't he? Oh, I'd have him back every show. It's fantastic.
Yeah, anyone that needs a proper test, anyone that wants to whack people around and see if they can get someone out.
But he will try. He tries to fight back as well.
Yeah,
so,
it was brilliant.
No, it was really good. I think he put value for money and great fight.
Tunji's quickly becoming one of my favourites to watch in that he likes to stand, he likes to punch, he likes to trade, but he's also very skillful to go with it.
Yeah.
They're doing good things down at, was it Punch KO that he's training out? IQ. Doing really good things with some of their fighters down there.
Xavier, who trains there, is doing a brilliant job, and you know, there's the stable is getting... He's fantastic. We've had 2 signings from them this week, which we'll talk about. Another one looking possibly signed before the next week. So great. The IQ stable is fast becoming a real big hotbed alongside Punch London in North London.
No, I've enjoyed watching them.
Yeah.
Special mention to the super flyweight who opened this show. Showy the Showman, I think he goes by, out of Birmingham, the John Pegg fighter. Wow, just from my own personal point of view, 4'11", smallest boxer in Britain. Came out and knocked out.
Jack Smith was actually doing really well. He was winning the fight, and he just didn't listen to his corner, and he got caught. It was as you know, you can see, it was a great shot. But he's a young kid, and I'm sure he'll come back.
Absolutely, I'll say it was just I would hate to have been in the ring against Showy the Showman that night because he's so awkward. So difficult, and for such a young lad, you know, if he didn't listen to his corner, what an awkward fight that would be. Bobby Woods. Yeah,
Bobby Woods, a really good solid debut, and a lot of people have said that they were really impressed with him.
Yeah.
So I think Bobby is definitely another one for the future in the lightweight, super lightweight division. You know, again, Daly's doing building a little stable down there.
Yeah.
Really impressed with Bobby, and I think there's a lot to come from him.
Yeah, I mean, there were a few others as well that...
We could go for 20 with beer all night.
Yeah, to be honest, I'll forget some of them, so I'm not going to try and cover everybody by name, but yeah, it was, you know, really good, entertaining...
Chris Davies, with a real good tough fight with Robert Sediqi, that was good. Ollie Pattison moved to 8-0. You know, there's a lot of talent burgeoning within the Goodwin ranks.
Yeah, Anesu Twala, again, he showed off. Sometimes I want to see Anesu, if you ever watch this Anesu, in my words, not Steve's, I want to see you stand, I want to see you trade sometimes. He's always looking for that counter. He's brilliant to watch, very skillful boxer. Sometimes I want to see him actually have that spite and aggression and stand and want to have it with somebody. It's just my personal preference.
Sam Gilley, I thought he put in a good...
Sam Gilley was very good, I thought. He was...
he's got all the skills there, I think he could be very good. Just you can sit all night long go through them all, but I thought all the fighters there showed that we got a lot to look forward to, and the Goodwin team and the fighters are just building towards lots and lots of titles.
Yeah.
Over the next next year. We've got a lot of title holders this year, but next year's going to be even better.
And again, we said it the other week, but I mean, from a personal perspective, you know, there aren't that many title fights or anything that are on the card, but there's so many lads that are early on in their career that for anyone who was there, I was chatting with Paul Altai, who won the tickets a few weeks back, and he really enjoyed this show. He was there from about 4:30 with his missus, sat through all of it, seemed to really enjoy himself. But he's seen a lot of lads there on their debuts or very early in their career that hopefully you know, you can follow through as they progress, and those are the lads that, as you say, in 2 years' time will be fighting for these titles. So for anyone that's there, hopefully they'll be able to say, you know, I saw his debut, I saw his second fight, and get on board with their careers.
Exactly. No, it was really, really good, and it was good to see. It was a development show, really. So
yeah.
No, we're really happy with it. So.
Yeah. Right, so we're going to introduce a new segment now, looking at some of the fighters that you've signed over the last week.
Right, so we're going to do this every week.
Unless you haven't signed anyone, then we'll skip over it.
Yeah, but when we sign boxers, we'll talk about them, and 2 new signings this week. First one is Jerome Campbell from the IQ club, a super featherweight trained by Xavier Miller,
who we just mentioned.
Yeah, was for boxed for Finchley and Islington ABC, 35 fights, won the Haringey Box Cup, and Xavier's thinking he's going to make a really, really good career in the super featherweight division.
As soon as you start to hear things like box for Finchley, won the Haringey Box Cup, those legitimise somebody's amateur career, don't they? You know, 35 fights is quite a lot these days for for somebody. So yeah, high hopes for him.
Got really high hopes, and Xavier doesn't take boxers on that aren't going to win titles.
Right.
Every single boxer in that gym will win a title, so he knows what he's looking for. And the second one was Adrian Redman. Less experienced, had about 17 amateurs, was a silver medalist in the Haringey Box Cup. He won the ABA one-day tournament, but again, Xavier is really hopeful that he's going to make an even better, much better professional than an amateur. And I think he's got the right attitude, and I think he could be very exciting to watch. He's got an exciting style. So we're looking forward to those two lads, and they both signed 3-year management with myself at Goodwin Boxing, so we'll be able to develop their careers and build them up. So they're going to be exciting times. So for those two boxers, welcome to the Goodwin team. And
Xavier is someone that you've built a relationship with now,
yes.
isn't it? So somebody that, you know, he trusts you, you trust him.
Exactly.
It works well that you have that manager-trainer relationship.
Well, that's important, because I think if you're building up when we're building up with people, if we don't trust the people we work with, we don't want to work with them. So we like to select people that we trust to work with, and that's trainers like such as Don Charles, who's been with me pretty much from the start. We have the same relationship with him, and if you build up these relationships, Barry O'Connell, etc., you build the relationship, and they know with their boxers that they've got total faith in what I do, management wise, and they can just concentrate on the training and know full well we'll take care of the rest.
Yeah. And so then do you just make the phone call and say, I've got X fight lined up for...
Yeah, you'll speak to the boxer, work out plans with the trainer when they're going to fight, and then you'll sit there and work out when you're ready to press the button for each one, and when you should press the button for each one, and what we're going to do. So we sit there and have regular meetings and regular discussions about what we're going to do, and it works really well, because everybody knows that they will trust each other's roles, and it works. If you've got a trainer that's not comfortable with the manager, or a manager that's not comfortable with the trainer, it's a problem. I've had chats with boxers when I'm not happy with the training establishment. So if you're not happy with that, it needs to change, because you can't really work with a team that's not, you haven't got total faith in everybody from the top to the bottom.
Yeah. And you mentioned there about pulling the trigger on certain fights. Introduce us nicely into the other new feature we're going to start looking at, which is fights that you've made. They're often fights that you talk about, or fights that may have been made that you can't then bring onto here, but these are the ones that you can.
These ones that I've made. I mean, I just told you about one I'm working on, which is a big one for which we spoke about just upstairs. Yeah. That I can't mention yet because it's still in negotiation. And that's a big televised fight. These are ones at local level. We'll start off with Brad Paul's Diego Burton.
I love this fight. 10-rounder.
10-rounder. We've asked for it to be a final eliminator for the Southern Area middleweight title.
When did you find out if that's?
That's this week. Hopefully they will do it as a final eliminator. The board. Brad Paul's 8-0, Diego Burton, who's in the twilight of his career and wants to see exactly what he has left. So I think it's a great fight. Good test for Brad, because he'd be fighting somebody with a lot of experience. There's also who fought Elliot Matthews for the Southern Area, who was crowned English champion recently. I think it's a great fight. Diego will train his thing off for this. Brad's never really had a long distance fight. It's a really good pivotal fight. Brad wants to have a proper fight. Diego wants to see where he's at. It's a perfect fight for both.
So Diego's been slightly stop-start with his career, certainly towards the end of it.
Yeah.
But this is his opportunity to then have like a bit of an Indian summer to it.
Well, Diego had a lot of issues non-boxing related in personal life, which really stopped him. You got to remember. Do you remember the fights he gave Joe Mullender?
Yeah.
Unbelievable fight he gave Joe Mullender. And it was very, very close. If he'd got the decision, you couldn't have argued. Yeah,
Joe Mullender was going on to fight for the IBF.
Yeah, let's not talk about those fights. Let's not go about those fights. That's another day. Yep. So that's a cracking fight in its own right, and I think it's a good fight for both fighters. Kay Prosper, who fought at the weekend, he's now going to fight Nathan Weiss in what we hope is going to be an English title eliminator. The reason it can't be for anything more is the Southern Area title is totally frozen up with Sheer Osgood's got medical issues, problems. So the whole Southern Area is locked. So we need to move on. Again, we hope that the board will approve that. And I think that's a great fight for both fighters. So these are he's coming down to he's coming down from welterweight to super welterweight.
So look out in the board notices when they get released this week.
Yeah. Justin Menzie, Robert Asagba's a good fight.
Justin, he's one that I've followed since he made his return to the ring. I enjoy watching him fight because he's so passionate about his boxing.
Yeah.
It's everything to him, isn't it? You can see that the moment the bell goes, I'm sure he would probably say himself, he's not the best boxer in the world, but I doubt there's any boxer out there that it means more to than Justin.
Yeah. And Robert Asgaba wants to test himself, so we're just working with the board on something for that, and that will be at welterweight. So we've made those 3 matches are done and dusted.
Okay. Have you got dates for them? Or
yeah, they're going to be in the 3rd, 10th of March.
Okay.
That's when they are. We've got a meeting Michael Devine tomorrow, so we're going to be discussing his next move. So there's a few potential fights on the horizon for him, so we'll announce that on the next show, because I'm sure that will be finalised and done.
Yeah.
I've got other things to announce. Obviously, Wally Camacho, we're just looking at as it stands as to, he's got his mandatory Danny Cousins. He wants to look at other options first, but we're going to see where that lies. Jose Lopez, had a meeting with him on Saturday. He's going to come back bigger and stronger from that reversal to Wadi.
Yeah.
So I've got to work on something for him. Obviously, John O'Donnell's fighting Tamuka Mucha on the 16th of February for the English title. That's already done and dusted. That's going to be where it's going to be because it's not been announced yet. And obviously, we've got the other big one that we hopefully will be able to announce in 2 weeks' time. Frank Buglioni. We're looking for the Callum Johnson fight to be March time.
So that still is mandatory, isn't it?
Yes.
He can't get out of that to go and fight, say, Yarde, who's talking about he wants to fight for the British title. Get yourself in a mandatory.
And Yard decided to run from Jose Burton and fight all these road sweepers. So it's just all, that's just boring now. It's just nonsense. And he's still not fought anybody yet, has he?
No.
After all the press conference about Frank Buglioni, and then he's going to fight, he's going to step up and fight this one and that one. Really? Yeah. He's 40-1 on this weekend again.
I know.
100-1 on last time.
I know.
Chris Hobbs. I mean, it's ridiculous. So in reality, he's actually a nice kid out in the yard, so I wish him all the best in his career. But the hullabaloo that's made around him is just...
There needs to be a balance between reality and hype.
Yeah, the hype is just nonsense. The hype is nonsense. He may well be the real deal. But to try and make all this song and dance about something that was could never happen, and then he's going to fight this one and that one, it just looks a bit daft.
Yeah.
So Frank will fight Callum Johnson. Yeah, Frank will fight Callum Johnson. So we're waiting on that date to be confirmed with Eddie Hearn. So we've got those fights we're going to watch, but there's so many more that I'll be working on over the next 2 weeks. And I think we'll be able to unveil a lot more of the bigger fights coming in the next couple of weeks.
So we'll try and keep people updated as we go along.
Yeah, as to what fights we're making and what fights have not happened and why they've not happened. So we'll have a segment every time about the fights made and the fights coming up.
And so you've got no shows yourself now until March next year? So
I think
3 weekends in a row.
Yeah, I think the first one in March, Ryan wants to promote again. I think Jack Green's promoting.
He enjoyed the experience.
He loved it. He wants to do one on the 3rd of March.
Good.
And Jack Green's, he wants to promote. I think he wants to get himself on enough on his own shows. And then there's potentially a third one on the 17th of March, potentially. That's not totally finalised yet.
Right.
But yeah, so there's definitely some things that we've already sorted out some of our boxes on some of those shows after speaking to everybody concerned. So it's going to be a really exciting start in March, but I think there'll be some Goodwin boxes in action in February as well. Yeah. Which more to be revealed about that.
Yeah. So that's kind of the plan for 2018 at present. I'd say our Brad Paul's Diego Burton fight.
Is that your favourite one, is it?
Yeah. Just because I've trained with Brad, I've trained alongside him, I've watched him from his debut, to see him step up to those 10-round fights. He's an exciting fighter to watch. I really enjoy, he goes in there.
Do you know, those other two fights, they are all crackers.
Yeah.
They are proper fights where you think, God, each one's bringing something to the table and they're all going to be totally committed to win. Yeah. There are 3 cracking fights and we haven't finished yet. These shows in March are going to be fantastic.
Yeah, so stay in the gym, you lot out there.
They've got some big fights coming.
Don't be getting excessive at Christmas. And we'll be seeing them, a lot of them as well. On
21st December?
Yeah, going for a drink down in London somewhere. Drop us a message if you want to find out any more about it.
There's plenty coming.
Yeah, we were debating actually, the podcast that I run, we were debating taking down a laptop and a couple of microphones.
Why don't you?
Just grabbing boxes.
Why don't you? It's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, I think it'd be the only thing. I'm not sure the sound quality will work, but there might be a bit of ambient background noise. we'll give it a go.
Give it a go. That's a really good idea.
Maybe take a laptop, a couple of mics, and just grab people.
Yeah,
ask them.
That's a really good idea.
I think it could
really
be quite amusing. So anyway, that's on.
Before they've had a drink.
No. I'm going to have a little breath tester. Unless they fail it, they're not allowed to do anything.
Mike doesn't tell you the truth then.
Right, so we'll move on to questions.
Okay, yeah.
I've been completely unprepared this week. So, it's going to be off my phone rather than anywhere else. So we'll start off with JD Evans. I was debating this with him on Twitter, actually, prior to it being submitted. He said, put it on here for Steve. We'll let him, you can have the decision on it. So I was debating with him about Cal Yafai, and Eddie Hearn said he's not going to put him in with Inoue. Said it's only something like 15, 20, 25% more than what he got for the Ishida fight. And the risk that he would be in with Inoue, who's such a monster at super flyweight, isn't worth that 20%. And I said, well, that's fine, but you're asking Joseph Parker to go and fight Anthony Joshua, and don't get me wrong, the financials are completely different. They don't really scale because Anthony Joshua's a financial, monster. But you can't be asking Joseph Parker on the premise that you'll make loads of money in the future. You're not going to get a 50-50, but you have to take X amount. So we said, we'll put it to you. Like, what would you do? Given that Cal Yafai, if he stays in the UK as a super flyweight, gets zero attention, he ends up in empty Birmingham arenas or undercards that no one's watching. Or he can go over to these super fly cards in America where you've got your Srishaket, you've got your Inoues, you've got your Roman Gonzalez. They all kind of mash it up between themselves. So is it worth taking what would probably still be a career high payday, but only 20% more than he got for Ishida, to go and take on an Inoue? Or would you leave him in the UK?
Well, let's go back to the start. Is Eddie Hearn Yafai's manager? No. So, is it really, or should it be his decision? The answer is no.
That's true.
It should be whoever the manager's decision.
Who is Cal Yafai's manager? I've no idea.
No idea.
No.
But the manager is the person that should be making those decisions, not the promoter. Because you sign a promotional deal, what you will be signing is that if you do take another fight, you will have to pay that promoter some compensation. So Eddie Hearn would get some compensation as a promoter from Yafai taking this fight abroad. So let's put it that way. So this is, I don't really understand why Eddie Hearn is speaking on his behalf. That's the second, I wouldn't be very happy if he was speaking on Frank Buglioni's behalf, because that would be my decision. At the end of the day, when you're making a joint decision like we did with Yard, it's different. But if we were talking about offer to fight abroad, then it would be the decision of the team. The second point that I think is an issue here is Eddie Hearn. If you look at the situation, he's not exactly got a plethora of boxers coming through to world titles as we sit, and Yafai is one of his world champions.
Yeah, it's true.
He's got to fulfil a contract with Sky
about X number of world title fights.
Yafai goes and gets beat, he's therefore not, he's on the thing, and he's struggling. So I would say that probably this is an Eddie Hearn decision for the benefit of the Sky platform rather than for the boxer. That's my, I don't know this, but I'm just saying. So I think that's where we're sitting. So I think, and then you then think, well, how can I make it? How can I justify not going? I will blame it on the money.
Yeah, makes sense. And then bring over Thailand's number 5 super flyweight. Beaten up over 12
because on Sky
rounds.
you're fulfilling your contract by putting, no matter how people are interested, you're still fulfilling your contract of fighting world title fights.
Yeah. I feel for Cal Yafai out of this because he's in a division that doesn't garner much attention. Super flyweights just don't in the UK. The only way you're ever going to get that attention
is by going and
legitimising yourself amongst the other champions.
But Eddie Hearn wouldn't be the only one that does this. If you think that other promoters have built up lots of fighters, WBUs, WBOs, blah 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 blah, and they don't have real fights. So it's not a criticism, but it's just part of the business. But from the point of view of Yafai's management, if you thought you were going to go over there and win, and you really fancied to win, you go there for 20% more of your money, and risk and no reward. He carries on fighting lower level fighters over here, and nobody really watches him or pays any interest to the fights. Yeah,
but they don't already, so you're not losing anything out of it.
Nobody bothers.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. That settles it, John. I was wrong.
Sorry.
No. What I said was, I think you're probably in the middle. To be honest, I said he's got to go over there, or else he's an irrelevant fighter in that division. That's not being horrible to Cal. It's just you accept that if you keep him here, he'll never earn the money that he potentially could. You take the risk, you probably get beaten by Inoue, but if you put up a good enough performance, you can get one of those other fights because there aren't that many elite level, top level super flyweights around the world.
Everybody's got their own interests, so you don't know which interest is being served by making the decisions.
Yeah. All right, Rob Brennan. It's been covered before elsewhere, so we'll try and keep it fairly short. Why did Steve get involved in boxing? Did someone suggest he do it, or was it solely your own decision?
I don't want to bore everybody. if you go on the interviews on the internet, there's pages and pages of why I did it. So
the short version is Olivia was unwell, and it was a bucket list item, wasn't it? Which meant that you got your licence out on her behalf, and I say on her behalf, on your behalf to do it, and then Olivia
wanted to do a show. She did a show. Now she still does them, but it's now Josh that's now taken the active role and really loves the boxing. Olivia still likes it, but not to the passion that she had before. Yeah, so a twist of fate, of illness. And And do you know what? After 6 months, I thought, what the hell have I done this for? But here we are.
Go listen to the podcast we did. That tells you everything. From Paul Altai, spoke of earlier. Really nice guy. Does Steve feel there will ever be enough of a call for women's boxing to hold an all-female event?
No. Because the problem is that unless Terry Chappendama's the promoter. because Terry believes that it doesn't matter where you're based in the UK, as long as you can put a show together, it's going to work.
Yeah.
So I think we should get Terry Chappendama to put on an all-female card with loads of great fights and lose a stack load of money.
You'd have to have listened to our podcast this week to understand quite where Steve's coming from with this.
But very simply, the problem you've got with this is to make a card. I don't think you'll get a TV company wanting to do it. Don't think you'll get a TV promoter. So that would have to be done small hall. The problem is the fighters all dotted around the country, so it couldn't financially work. You'd be dragging in Ashley Brace from Wales. You'd be dragging Natasha Jonas from Liverpool. You'd be taking Sam Smith from Leeds. You'd be taking Angela Hebden from London.
No local market.
So you've got a whole spread. So you'd probably end up with 300 people watching.
Yeah.
So that's why it wouldn't work.
Well, you get Pink Tyson and do it for £1.49 on YouTube.
But that's why it wouldn't work, because there's just not enough of them.
Yeah, that's fair enough. A question from @thefellaboss on Twitter. And I said to him, you won't answer this question, so he's given me another question to follow up. Who's the best fighter that Steve manages? Boxer must have had less than 10 fights.
Pass. The only reason I pass is if I mention one name, trust me, my phone tomorrow, after this is published, would be a lot of upset boxers.
This is exactly what I said to him.
And the thing is, I don't want to upset the ones, because it's really hard to distinguish. There's so many talents. And you know what? Every 2 or 3 months, you look at it, and you might change who you think is going to go further. So it changes.
Each performance.
And I don't want to rank them, because I think the objective we have with each boxer is to fulfil their ultimate aim, which is to take them as far as their ability allows. Some will be area, some will be English, some will be British, some will be further. Commonwealth. We want to do that, and I don't want to distinguish between one boxer and another, because one might only go to one level and one goes to another.
That's fair. So he followed up. Try this one then. Expressed as a percentage, if Steve was managing Parker, what is the least split he would advise Parker on taking for the Joshua fight? Does Steve like the Hearn type strategy that Duca have employed, similar to the massive novelty Frampton check, where he was trying to get Scott Quigg, he turned up on Sky Sports News? So starting with what would be the minimal percentage.
Which are the problem with percentages? Forget percentages.
No one knows the end amount.
It's the money that matters, right? So it's the money. It's how much money. If Joseph Parker's on, what do you thought Hughie Fury? Let's say he was on, I haven't got a clue. Let's
2 million apparently.
2 million? Okay. So let's say he's on 2 million for Fury, which was great money for a show like that. In reality, you'd be wanting 6-7 million, maybe for Joshua, somewhere in that zone. So if 10% equal to 6 or 7 million, you'd have that 6 or 7 million. If you needed 50% for the 6 or 7 million, you want 50. You want 7. So I think you can. The
biggest problem Eddie Hearn ever made was telling us how much he paid Charles Martin to fly over and deliver that belt.
Sometimes less is more.
£6 million was what he said he paid Charles Martin to fly over, hand that belt over, and fly back. In a nutshell.
Yeah.
And so every boxer from there, so if I'm Joseph Parker, it's the same as knowing what your colleague at work earns. If I'm Joseph Parker, I know that he earned £6 million for that. Now I'm Joseph Parker bringing my own belt to the table. I'm expecting 6 million plus, because it's now a unification. So I think where Eddie opened his mouth about that
stupid.
Is sometimes
when Deontay said he wanted 7 million and they go, that's ridiculous. It's not ridiculous, is it, if you've admitted to paying Charles Martin 6?
Yeah.
That's a problem. I do think Eddie's really good with the press and good with, but sometimes you can say too much because it leaves it open like this, and it makes it harder to negotiate down the line.
Yeah, as I say, it's the same with knowing what your colleague earns. If you ever find it out, it causes a problem.
Same thing. I think sometimes you shouldn't be discussing actual money and prices.
And are we ever going to see you turn up here one week with a novelty check for offering an area fight, or we should do it?
Yeah.
Next time we've got problems negotiating a fight, we'll
do that.
Yeah, we'll turn up.
We'll tell them a check and go, this is it. Your
like
check is here.
Big Pudsey the Bear style.
And we'll write to them, yeah, we'll do that. when I'm having trouble with somebody's running a mile from a fight and we can offer them decent money, we'll come with a novelty check.
Alright, maybe it's the Arfan Iqbal situation. After it comes through Simon Vallili.
Can we have Luke Watkins, please?
Yeah, there we go. That's it.
Yeah.
We'll write a check to Luke Watkins.
Yeah.
There was a follow-up to that, but I'll leave that bit for now. Question from...
By the way, congratulations on Luke. He fought really well. I mean, he overcome a hard part of the fight, and he's a lovely kid, well managed by Paddy Fitzpatrick, and he won the Commonwealth title. But it is something we believe we
defended it, didn't he?
So we defended it after beating Robin Dupree. But we genuinely think Arfan walks through Luke, and that's why we'd like that fight.
Yeah. So. Question from @LTFC Dumps. Question: last week Steve mentioned Michael Devine, Linus Udofia and Kay Prosper having possible title fights next summer. After Kay's win on Saturday, what's the chances of a show in Luton with all three would be a ticket seller?
Possibly.
So you're not ruling that out?
No. I think you've got Kay Prosper to overcome a fight in March.
Yep.
To fight there. Linus has already got a planned fight which I can't discuss at the moment, which we know about.
He's got a date in mind.
Yes,
for next year.
And then Michael, we're going to sort something out now. Now, if they all come through their fights, then there is no reason why we can't look at something in Luton in June time.
Okay, so let's not rule it out.
If we can find the appropriate venue, which is one of the hardest jobs in Luton.
Yeah. Okay. Question from @the7Wolves. Speaking of Mr. Chapandama earlier.
I like Terry.
I needed more than 140 characters, he texts me. Question for Steve, and this could probably go to Robert Smith as well, so the head of the board. Is Steve's open door policy contributing to the death of amateur boxing and the lack of quality professionals around? There are a lot of small hall boxers across the country that would be battered, his words, not mine, by average amateurs, and in many cases are given hidings in sparring, yet their ability to sell tickets seems to override their lack of ability or competence. It's giving poor amateurs that have a few friends a way to escape the apprenticeship that the amateurs provides. He follows up, there's nobody in the pro ranks insisting on amateur pedigree in a prospect. I understand the commercial element, but it is a short-term gain for long-term disaster.
Right, I think generally it's not a bad question, but the question's flawed in several aspects. So let's go to the start.
Yeah.
We don't have an open door policy. An open door policy means that we can discuss this next Monday at your
live show. Yeah.
Discuss this. We don't have an open door policy. We get a lot of boxers that come to us, and our advice to them is stay amateur, go and learn your trade. We have plenty. So we don't have an open door policy. Whether others do, that's up to them.
Yeah.
So that's the first.
So there's
point.
a filter.
There's a filter system that we will not, so we filter them, and we will only turn boxers over if they are of a certain quality. So that's the first thing. We don't have an open door policy. So whether he believes that the board, other people have an open door policy, that may be there, but we don't.
So to clarify, I mean, the board do assess somebody, what used to be a sparring session is now a gym session.
But that's not as good as it used to be. It would be better when it was a sparring session, but they do reject some people at these sessions. But it would be far better if they could see the boxers spar. So I think it does allow some boxers to go through.
Yeah.
If, however, Terry does believe that we have boxers of that type, I'd be delighted for him to give us those names next Monday.
He can name names.
Name names next Monday, and I'll be happy to sit there and discuss with him if he believes that we have turned somebody over that shouldn't be a professional, because I'll be quite happy and delighted to listen to that. So that's the first point.
Yeah. Is it killing amateur boxing?
Oh, no, second point.
Oh, okay.
Second point. Second point. Under Terry's rules, we wouldn't have had Lee Purdy,
who went on to fight Devon Alexander for the world title.
We wouldn't have had Nick Blackwell,
British champion.
Two examples who both never had an amateur fight. So you can't make the rules that they all have to be amateur. There are plenty of talented kids that bypass amateur. Of course there are plenty that are in this unlicensed scene that are not very good. We accept that. But yes, so I think we have an issue where to say this is a carte blanche thing, that open door policy, they've got is not actually accurate.
But I think also amateur boxing doesn't help itself. The fact they've split into two bodies, you know, you've already halved the amount of people in theory that you can match amateur boxers against. So
I don't think you're ruining amateur boxing. I think amateur boxing is ruining itself because, in my opinion, a boxer should, if he believes that he can go and win titles and make a living out of boxing, he should be permitted to take that option. In life, we all, if they're good enough, right? And from our point of view, we don't take anybody we don't think is good enough. I've mentioned 2 signings today, both perfectly capable, and we will cover all our signings every week. So if I do ever sign somebody that you think is not appropriate, then come on board and tell us. But we don't do that. A lot of people leave amateur boxing because they feel disillusioned about favouritism to certain clubs, about judging decisions, about the fact they don't get the fights they want, about the split between the Alliance and the England or whatever they call themselves. So people are getting more disillusioned with amateur boxing. So I think they're going to move across. So I don't actually feel that's true. And yes, if you do feel there should be a stronger system about certain boxers turning pro, I don't disagree with that in principle. There should be a vetting system, but probably you're directing it to the wrong person, because I don't believe that we have an open door policy that takes people on that shouldn't.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's covered each of the elements. Another question from Paul Oldtie. Does Steve think he will ever do a large arena show, or does he prefer to give value for money in places like York Hall where no seat is bad?
I think it's dependent on, if tomorrow, it won't happen, Sky came to us and said Eddie Hearn's retired from boxing, will you take over a Sky contract? We want you.
Can you ring me if that happens, by the way?
I will do, yeah.
That's fine.
If that happened and we were saying we wanted to do, well, of course we'll do arena shows. We can't do arena shows without a TV budget. So unless we ever get a TV budget, we're not going to be doing arena shows. Yep. I don't also want to do arena shows such as you saw in Leicester on Saturday night, where when you came to the main fights it was absolutely empty. There was a man and his dog in there. There is no point having these bigger arenas and having them empty. It just looks terrible.
Yeah, I think if you have 1,000 people and you disperse them around an arena, or you have 1,000 people and they're all cramped on top of one another at York Hall. So for instance, the Matchroom show next week at York Hall, I think that will look fantastic on TV, because it will be rammed, it will be sold out, it will be packed literally to the rafters.
Good show as well.
Yeah, it is a good show. It's a great show, actually. It's a really, really good one. But that would look so much better than if they took that and they put it at Wembley Arena, where they would maybe have sold, they would have sold more tickets.
Yes.
But they wouldn't have sold it out. I would far rather see York Hall rocking on a night like that.
Totally agree. I think go to an arena when you have the right fights, the right crowd and the right capacities, but you do need TV money for it. But for me, sometimes when people are doing these TV shows, they're not making it the right spectacle.
Yeah.
And I do feel that I would love to do an arena show for TV, because I believe we could do it a lot better than a lot of others.
Yeah, I think I was chatting with Paul and he was really enthusiastic. He hadn't been to one of your shows before, and seeing the big screens and the entrances that the boxers make, I think that the fact that you can bring that to a small hall makes you question how it would then scale up. So what would you bring to the larger arenas?
We could do lots of improvements.
Yeah, would be interesting to see.
Lots of improvements.
Question from JFB Sports. Would Steve explore the YouTube platform or look for televised shows in 2018? I believe with the boxing staff that he has, he's got a team capable of putting on great entertainment on TV.
And I appreciate that, and I actually think he's right. So I do appreciate the comments. The problem you've got is, let's look at where we are on TV. You've got YouTube, which you're distributing content for free.
Anyway, it does do a YouTube programme. Now, there you go.
We'll show you highlights of last week. You've then got this free sports thing, which Dennis Hobson's done, and I think there's a couple of other promoters doing it, but they are paying the production.
Yeah.
So the promoter is paying, get the logic of this, probably $7,000 out of your money, $7,000, to give you content for free. That's going to affect your boxers' ticket sales. So you're going to lose revenue back to the promoter. And by the way, the fighter's going to lose money as well. But don't worry about that, because people around the country can just tune in and watch it for free. Is that really a business model? That's stupid, right? So don't care what anybody says it's stupid. It makes no sense. You're not going to generate from doing that. You need revenue coming in. You don't get, the boxers won't get, and the viewing figures on those are not going to be good enough to get sponsors in. So we've covered this millions of times. So I would love it if a TV company came up and said, here is money.
Yeah.
But until then, what we will do is we will work and build alliances with those promoters that have the television platforms to get our fighters on those platforms. But one day, hopefully, we will get the revenue to be able to develop things ourselves.
Yeah.
But it has to be when it's right.
Well, that covers all the questions for the week. We're not going to be in next week.
No.
But
I'll be at your call next week with Miles Shinquin. Come on, Miles.
Fighting Jake Ball for
WBA Intercontinental.
Yeah, that's a hell of a fight. That. Look forward to seeing that.
I think Miles is training really well. He's got a great chance, got a great opportunity, and for Miles it shows him where he is. I mean, in that division, Liam Conroy beat Chris Hobbs last Saturday, but I was speaking to Michael Ballingall, who says that Chris Hobbs was winning the fight.
And respect to Chris Hobbs as well. He's retired on the back of that. He's a lovely bloke.
So lovely man. But he actually was close with Liam Conroy. So, you know, at the end of the day, you know, Miles gets over this. Hopefully, he'll then beat Jake Ball, fight Liam Conroy, and then move on to the British. Yeah. So that's the plan with Miles. But he's got to overcome Jake Ball, and Jake Ball is an odds-on favourite with the bookmakers. So they're taking the Jake Ball. He's 1-3 Jake Ball. Miles Shinquin's 3-1 against.
Okay.
I think it's a bit wider than it should be.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I'd make Jake favourite or not. I think I think
you probably would make Jake on because Miles has. You've got to remember he's been stopped by Hosea and was put down by Joel McIntyre. Things have now changed. But I think on the basics, I think you can make favourite, not as wide as that.
No, I mean the Madonna fight, obviously for Jake Ball, where he got stopped brutally. Yeah. But he did come back and have a really good fight with Joe Sheriff.
Nobody knows how good Joe Sheriff is yet, do we?
No.
Because really, Joe Sheriff was very tough. I was at the fight. I thought Joe Sheriff put on a brilliant fight. But we don't know how good Joe Sheriff is, so how good is that form? Yeah. It's because we don't know anything enough about Joe Sheriff. So
intriguing fight. Great
fight, and we think Miles has got a great chance of winning. So let's hope he can pull it off and be our final champion of the year.
Excellent. We will be back before the end of the year. We're working on dates, but we'll surprise you one day with a new episode. Otherwise, thank you very much for tuning in. If you want to know any more about the Christmas drinks, then drop Steve or I a message, and we'll pass on the details. There'll be a few of the boxers that I've seen the group chat is getting excited about it. Enjoy. Hope you enjoyed this week. Send us any feedback, and we'll see you soon.
Cheers.